right now on 5 on Your Side at 10.
A local track star invited to qualify for the Paris Olympics.
I'm ecstatic. It hasn't even sunk in, I'm not gonna lie.
Tonight, the community effort to get the coach she's known for years the chance to see her compete.
Today we had a slight break from the 90s, but they're back tomorrow. Plus, I'll time out when we may see a pop-up storm.
Voices raised at a library board meeting in St. Charles County. The battle to keep 3 branches open.
The St. Charles City County Library Board meeting wrapped up just moments ago. Thanks for joining us. I'm Kelly Jackson.
And I'm Mike Bush. Dozens of people protested the proposal to close 3 library branches. 5 on Your Side's Laura Barczewski is live in St. Peters. Laura.
Mike and Kelly, they actually passed a resolution tonight that solidifies tabling that proposal to close those 3 branches indefinitely. The resolution also put listening sessions on the table that the public will be able to come to learn more about the financial status of the St. Charles City County Library and weigh in on other plans to help with financial issues. It also directs the administration to work with the library board to come up with those new proposals to address the financial issues they say they're facing. But at the end of all this, they could still close those branches in the future. The library CEO did talk more about their financial situation tonight and pointed to tax abatements that essentially took away nearly $600,000 in tax money from the libraries. While some people say they feel better about the situation because of the resolution, they're still questioning the board and the administration.
If you go back and you look at the last 4 or 5 years' budgets that are available on the library's website, the only place you'll find a deficit is in the CEO's budget. You know, by the end of the year, we've had multi-million-dollar surpluses in 3 of those last 5 years, and the reality seems to be painting a different picture than what administration has been telling the public.
We would much rather have our library branches open, branches that we can walk to, that kids can come for classes, adults can come for classes, they can come for story hour, they can come to get out of the heat without spending money, rather than have an ebook right when we want it. Again, we're readers, we're used to waiting.
Now, the library board is still working on how those listening sessions are going to work, but they expect they could start as early as July. Reporting live in St. Peters, Laura Barczewski, 5 on Your Side.
Tonight we're learning more about a car crash that killed a suspect pursued by St. Louis police. The wreck happened this afternoon near Page and Goodfellow. As 5 on Your Side's Robert Townsend reports, several others, including a man and young boy, were injured.
1 minute, many neighbors were enjoying the day and sitting outside their homes near Page and Goodfellow in North St. Louis. But around 12:30 Tuesday afternoon, they say screeching tires and blaring police sirens ruined the peace.
Real crazy. It was a shock.
This woman asked us to not show her face.
It happened so fast, like a blink of an eye.
Police say a man and a teenage boy sped down Page Boulevard in this white car. Officers with the department's mobile reserve unit were in marked vehicles hot on the suspect's trail.
They're actually told by the Real-Time Crime Center that there is a vehicle driving very erratically that is stolen in the Wells Goodfellow neighborhood.
Police say the driver in the stolen car just wouldn't stop.
When it saw the spike strips, it immediately stopped, backed up, almost striking the officers.
Investigators tell us the suspects crashed into a black Lexus. The driver in the stolen car was killed. Witnesses say his teenage passenger tried to run off after the crash.
The young man who survived the accident jumped out. They pulled guns out on him.
Police say the suspects in the stolen car ran the red light here, and that's when they slammed into the innocent victims. Neighbors say officers ran to help the injured child and man.
Because when they got him out the car, they laid him on the ground. So the man that was in the car, they was pulling him out the car, and he started limping.
Both are expected to survive.
Very grateful, because it could have been my child. We drive up and down here every day.
Robert Townsend, 5 on Your Side.
And about a half hour after that deadly crash, just 3 miles away, a North St. Louis police officer shot and killed an armed minor. That incident started around 1 o'clock in the Baden neighborhood when officers came across a stolen car they were tracking. Without knowing police were following them, 2 juvenile suspects stopped to pick up a third person. That is when officers deployed stop strips. When their tires flattened near Whittier and St. Louis Avenue, 2 armed suspects jumped out of the car and took off running. One of them turned and pointed his gun at officers, according to police. police who shot him. The two others are both in custody. In a news conference, 5 on Your Side asked why officers use stop sticks before turning on the lights in their unmarked cars.
Anti-Crime Task Force is an unmarked unit who does covert surveillance in an attempt to spike it prior to them knowing the police are there in an attempt to slow them down. Spiking a car before you activate your lights and siren actually slows down the ability from them to become involved in a high-speed fleeing and endangering other individuals who are obeying traffic laws. So we try to spike them in an attempt to disable the vehicle so that it cannot drive at high speeds.
The officer involved with the shooting is 40 years old and has 16 years on the force. He was wearing a body camera, which will be part of the ongoing investigation.
A man convicted of killing a pregnant St. Louis teacher will spend the rest of his life in prison. Philip Cutler received 2 consecutive life terms today. The judge who sentenced him called the crime, quote, the most heinous he had seen in his career. Cutler's childhood friend, Cornelius Green, hired him to kill Jocelyn Peters in 2016. Peters was pregnant with Green's baby. Green was the principal at Carlane Middle School. He pleaded guilty in February and will be sentenced next week.
Tonight, St. Louis police are searching for a group who is randomly shooting airsoft guns at people. They're believed to be kids or teenagers. At least one person was hurt during an attack outside Hammerstones in Soulard overnight. Even a 5 on Your Side photojournalist was targeted early this morning downtown. Police say they've received at least 5 reports this month.
Even if these are juveniles, we'll certainly look into the possibility of holding parents accountable. You know, at 4 o'clock in the morning, why are your kids out driving around in a car indiscriminately shooting at people with an airsoft gun?
Investigators have not identified any suspects, but they are looking through surveillance footage to get more answers. If you have any information, you're encouraged to call Crime Stoppers. It's an anonymous tip line, 866-371-TIPS.
Right now, a South St. Louis man is recovering after an explosion at an apartment. Police say this happened about 4 hours ago on Germania. They say the man lost part of his arm. Bomb and arson investigators are still looking into what caused the explosion. Well, the baseball world is mourning the loss of one of the best players of all time. Willie Mays passed away today at the age of 93 in his home. He left an indelible mark on the game.
Frank Cusimano is here with more on the life of the Hall of Famer, Willie Mays.
He was considered baseball's greatest living player. In fact, many will go as far to say that Willie Mays was the best player to ever stride across a field. There was nothing he could not do, and his style was electric. He went after balls with sprinter speed with the ball cap flying off his head. This was one of the most famous plays in baseball history, Mays' amazing catch in the 1954 World Series off Vic Wertz. The Say Hey Kid was the definition of a 5-tool player. He hit for power, 660 homers, which is 6th all time. He hit for average. He won a batting title. He could field and throw, 12 Gold Gloves, and he could run, 339 stolen bases. The man played in 24 All-Star games and won 2 Most Valuable Player awards. Stan Musial, who also played in 24 All-Star games, loved Willie Mays. They did an event for the 3,000 Hit Club together once and then had to fly out for the naming of the All-Century team. Willie was going to fly coach. Stan said, no, you're flying on my plane, Willie.
Tonight, a local track athlete has her eyes set on the Paris Olympics. The 19-year-old just learned she can travel next week to qualify for the games.
She plans to show her skills as a pole vaulter, and tonight the college student is on a mission to help her middle school coach watch her compete in person. 5 on Your Side's Brent Solomon just caught up with the talented athlete.
And I tell you what, guys, the word talented might be an understatement. You're about to meet a young lady who's mastered numerous sports, and she has humility and spirit that will instantly make you a fan. She tells me she can't take all the credit.
You know, you have to be quick, you have to be flexible.
Just look at her go. That's 19-year-old Mason Minor Sagan from St. Louis County, finishing with a smile.
I never thought this would happen, so I'm just going to go out there and do my best and have fun and see what I can do.
The University of Kansas pole vaulter just found out she's invited to travel to Oregon next week to qualify for the Paris Games. One of the first people she reached out to, her middle school coach, Vince Bingham. She met him at summer camp.
It was the greatest moment of my life on Father's Day. I don't have no kids. We probably got 200 kids because I coach them. But to get that call on Father's Day, I just sleep the whole night.
Like, he's a part of my family. He's been there for everything for me.
Now Manor Sagan is on a mission as her former coach undergoes dialysis treatment and overcomes mobility challenges. Supporters set up this online fundraiser to help get him to Oregon to see Mason in action. Donors quickly meeting the $4,000 goal, but they're still allowing people to contribute.
I think he's going to get there. You know, when Vince really wants something, he makes it happen. Like, he's made a lot of things happen for me. So I'm hoping that we can get him out there. I'm so honored, you know, and I just want to go out there and represent him. And I want him to be there in the crowd cheering me on.
Because when someone helps you realize a dream.
She says, it wasn't for you. And then I said, no, you did it.
There's something about helping that hero see it through.
This has been my dream my whole life.
After that coach discovered and helped shape Mason's skills, she would later earn the title of NCAA Division I All-American as a freshman. We'll be watching and wishing her well next week.
People heading to Paris for the Olympics may want to take in a little culture.
You can feel the emotion.
The painter still inspiring artists nearly 100 years after his death. A border war heating up in Kansas City. The big move by Kansas lawmakers to lure the Chiefs and possibly the Royals across state lines.
80s and humid today. The 90-plus degree weather is back tomorrow, and it gets even hotter this weekend.
The Kansas City Chiefs and the Royals may not call Missouri home for much longer if Kansas lawmakers have their way. Today, Kansas legislators approved a plan that will finance a new stadium for the Super Bowl champs. The bill says Kansas would issue bonds to cover up to 70% of the cost of a new stadium for the Chiefs and another for the Royals. Lawmakers pursued the idea after Missouri voters refused a sales tax measure that would have helped to fund a new downtown ballpark along with major renovations to Arrowhead Stadium. Well, we're just 38 days away from the Paris Olympics. In our Journey to Paris series, we're exploring beautiful sights in France, from architecture to arts.
And that includes one of its most famous artists, Claude Monet. Reporter Scott Swan and photojournalist Steve Rhodes shows us how his impressionist influence still has people trying to paint like Monet.
In the late 19th century, Claude Monet began the Impressionist movement. The art world would never be the same.
I'm particularly in love with the Impressionist period, especially Monet.
Impressionism was all about recreating what you saw in nature.
It's the way he captures light.
Les artistes sont sortis des ateliers et sont venus peindre en extérieur.
You can feel the emotion. Every single brushstroke.
Le monde de l'art, ils ont révolutionné l'art.
The Normandy coast was Monet's muse. Beauty that still inspires.
Je m'appelle Sophie Justet et je suis artiste peintre et je suis née et je vis à Fécamp en Normandie.
Sophie is able to stand where Monet stood, see what he saw. Her art a lifetime of painting some of the most picturesque views in France.
Lorsque je monte sur la côte, je me dis toujours, je suis sur le toit du monde.
Sophie now teaches an art class called Paint Like Monet.
Lorsqu'on sort en extérieur, c'est pas pour faire une photo, c'est vraiment pour s'exprimer.
Whether they are beginners or skilled painters, Sophie teaches the Impressionist style.
Ce n'est pas que le pinceau qui va se poser. C'est beaucoup de choses à l'intérieur de soi en fait qui vont arriver sur le... Et c'est ce qui donne l'émotion aux gens qui nous regardent.
The Normandy coast wasn't the only place Monet painted.
We are in Giverny at the House of Monet.
I think it's a beautiful place. You basically go back in time.
500,000 visitors every year walk the grounds.
And when I saw the house, I was like, yeah, it's amazing.
You open the windows, you have a beautiful view on a beautiful garden. There's so many beautiful flowers. You really get what he saw and how he created his paintings.
It's been nearly 100 years since Claude Monet was alive. But the beauty he saw is still thriving in the Olympic host country, inspiring new generations of artists to move their canvases outside, to paint like Monet.
It's really beautiful.
Oh, so, c'est magnifique. Meteorologist.
Very good.
Jim Castillo, that looks like a beautiful picture you could paint behind you of the arch.
Monet?
Maybe not so much.
No.
Yeah, it's beautiful out there.
That's called photorealism.
Yes.
That is a real shot of the arch. Beautiful, isn't it?
Yes.
You know, we had some clouds today, and hey, guess what? 88 for that high. Just amazing. We were just below 90. Haven't done that in 6 days, but we're going back up to 90 plus for tomorrow, and even close to 100 on Friday and into Saturday. So, and it's very humid too. It's muggy out there right now. Temperatures are in the 80s, or were in the 80s for highs today. Now look at Farmington for the high at 81. So a couple of showers out there, some thick clouds, and you can see here on the satellite shot, still a little bit of cloud cover, mainly to the east. And look at all these storms from just west of Kansas City to Wichita. Put that futurecast into motion. You can see them breaking apart. But tomorrow, there's a chance of a spot shower or a storm in here. Most of us will not be seeing it. Most of us remain dry. But there is a front headed our way for late Saturday night into Sunday. That'll probably be our better chance of seeing a shower or storm in here. But 88 for that high today. No precip in St. Louis. It was just south and east. 77 for that high. Look at this area of high pressure. So watch it retrograde to the west. And that just means it really builds in by the 21st, which, you know, summer officially arrives on Thursday. And then we just have these high temperatures near 100 Friday and Saturday. And then watch as that really dark orange goes away and we get a little bit cooler, but not much. Don't get too excited because it's still going to be hot and humid. 10-day forecast looks like this. 94 for Wednesday, a spot shower or storm. 98 for Thursday, 100 Friday. You know, some of the models, at least for St. Louis, 101 outside of the city, staying in the 90s. And that chance of a storm Saturday night into Sunday. And then, hey, we go down to 94 Monday, but back up to near 100 Tuesday. And look at those, the 90s all the way through that 10-day forecast.
All right, Jim, thanks. Frank is next with sports.
This 5 on Your Side Sports Report is sponsored by Telly Tire and Auto Centers, driving your way since 1942.
Just when we started to gush about the Cardinals, they blow a 3-run lead to the worst team in the National League. They can still win the series tomorrow in Miami, but playing the Marlins, you really wanted that sweep. The Cardinals came out cooking first inning, Paul Goldschmidt, and it's 2-0 Cardinals just like that. In the second inning, Brendan Donovan liked the idea so much, he did it himself, and it's 4-3 Cardinals at this point. And then in the fourth, Alec Burleson homered. It's a 7-4 Cardinal lead. Can you lose a game when you hit 3 home runs? Yes, you can, when Lance Lynn simply didn't have it. Christian Betancourt takes him deep right there. Then in the 10th, Vidal Brujan singles to right. Nick Gordon scores. The Marlins with a walk-off 9-8 victory. Let's stay in Florida for Game 5 of the Stanley Cup Final. The Kachucks wanting to see a Panthers victory. Connor McDavid is the best player in the world because he can score goals at the worst possible angles. 3-0 Edmonton in the second. But Matthew Tkachuk will get the Panthers on the board with a wonderful extra effort goal right here, and we have a 3-1 game. Now Matthew will make a great play to save a goal in the dying moments, but McDavid, who had 4 points, scored. Edmonton wins 5-3. They trail this series 3-2. So they say that money can't buy happiness, but I think a world championship and a lot of dough can't hurt. Jason Tatum got the title last night. He's expected to soon sign an NBA super max contract. It's $315 million for 5 years. Now, if my Our Lady of the Pillar math doesn't fail me, that's over $60 million a year. NBA money is crazy. They're just beginning a $76 billion TV contract with multiple outlets, so the money is there, and why not for Tatum, who's in the prime of his career, a world champion, and a guy who, according to almost every expert, is a top 5 player in the world. He may be thinking about the money soon, but he wasn't last night.
To be able to say we did it, that we came together and we won a championship, banner number 18 has been hanging over our head for so many years. To know that we're going to be engraved in history, and it still hasn't registered. I'm just still trying to process it all.
Back in St. Louis, Tatum's championship is cause for celebration. Perhaps the next Jason Tatum was at his alma mater, Chaminade's basketball camp today. The folks at Chaminade are not surprised by Tatum's NBA title. After all, they did see him score 40 points to win the Missouri State Championship in 2016.
He's been the type of guy that when the lights go on, he performs. And so dialing back to that game, he scored 40. But he also had 27 in the first half and outscored the other team in the first half too, So, he's just always been a goal-oriented guy, and this is no exception. It's just something that's been the next rung in the ladder for him, and he finally got it. So I'm excited, and I think it'll be the first of many.
This 5 on Your Side St. Louis City SC coverage is sponsored by Together Credit Union.
City SC made some moves today. The biggest was the trade of midfielder A.Z. Jackson to the Columbus Crew in exchange for $325,000 in general allocation money. A breakout player a year ago, Jackson had struggled to find the field this season, starting just 8 games and logging 1 assist. And that will do it in sports.
All right, Frank, thanks.
Still to come, it's 618 Day. The newborns getting in on the celebration. Happy 618 Day. BJC Healthcare is celebrating families in the 618 area code. Alton Memorial and Memorial Hospital in Belleville dressed the newborns in 618 onesies. The 618 area code covers all or parts of 37 counties in southern Illinois.
And tomorrow is Juneteenth. The federal holiday celebrates the end of slavery in the United States. On June 19, 1865, enslaved people in Galveston, Texas were told they were free more than 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. Banks and post offices will be closed. This year, for the first time, you can get into all national parks for free. For a list of Juneteenth celebrations in our area, just text the word Juneteenth to 314-425-5355, and we'll send you a link. And there you have it. 5 on your side at 10. The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon is next.
Be sure to start your day with Today in St. Louis at 4 a.m.